go. All right. People coming into the room. Just waiting on Derrick. All right. Starting to stack up. Oh, there you go. Just add you in, Derrick. People starting to come into the room. Let's add you in, Derrick. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Keep going. It's like something. Okay. You almost had me word. I had me word for
Oh, no, we good.
what's going on. Okay, so we're just letting people come into the room. Let the numbers stack up a little bit. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are
You
you?
good? I'm good.
Yeah.
So, what's going on? Jeffrey LaDre said, you know who that is, Derek?
Yes, I know who that. I know who that amazing person is.
So people starting to come into the room. Invite, share the live if you can. Just letting more people come into the room. Letting people know we are on and going to have this important conversation. So keep sharing the live. Yes, get the numbers up, get people in. I see a Brian Whitaker. I see a Lemuel Adams. I know Lim. Get it in that. I think that's Kenneth Stallings. I saw him
Yeah,
liking it.
yeah, that's Kenneth.
Going on, Kenneth. Keep sharing the live. Get the numbers up. We're gonna wait one more minute before we get started. Keep sharing the live. Yes, there it is. The numbers are going up. Thank you, Jeffrey. He just shared it to the group code red. What's going on, Kenneth?
He's amazing.
Absolutely, I love it. Keep sharing it. Keep sharing to get the numbers up. Very important conversation. We're going there tonight. You usually don't get to do this, and I mean I'll go more into that, but me and Derrick, we are going there tonight. So this is a special conversation. The topic is special in itself, but how deep we're going. Oh, okay, the numbers are going up. Absolutely. All right, give me one more minute. Keep coming in, keep coming in, keep coming in. Keep coming and keep sharing it too. Keep sharing the conversation. Absolutely. Keep sharing the live. Absolutely. Come on in, get comfortable. Get your questions ready because Derrick is going to answer questions. Like I said, I'm going to go further into, all that. Okay. All right. So we're going to go and get started, but keep sharing it. Keep getting people into the room. So I want to welcome everybody to The Conversation Continues. I'm Dr. Thomas A. White, and I'm definitely happy to be back. We did conversations last year, different topics. It all started with the whole George Floyd situation. It was supposed to just be just one conversation, and the feedback was great, so we wanted to keep doing it and having important conversations for myself to learn first of all, and then to share the information and the knowledge with everybody watching. The reason why we're doing Living with HIV, couple reasons. Number one, I wanted to do it back in December, but the idea kind of came late, and with it being AIDS Awareness Month in December, I wanted to go along with the theme, but I got wrapped up in other things. But I still wanted to have the conversation. Another reason because I have a lot of people close in my life who are living with HIV, people that I've come across in my lifetime living with HIV. And if anything, their stories have always compelled me, and how they got it, how they're dealing with it. And my hope is that, number one, people learn more from the conversation we're having about HIV. Because to my surprise, there are a lot of people who still have questions and who are still a little bit uneducated about it, to the point where they don't realize that somebody they know has HIV, but unwilling to tell them for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they just want to keep it private. But a lot of times it has to do with just living in fear of people criticizing them, shaming them, or ostracizing them for their status. So my hope is that this conversation educates people, creates a dialogue in a way as to where that people get enough information to put themselves in a place where if there's somebody in their life who is HIV positive, that those people at least will know you to be an outlet they can come to should they want to share the information. But some people just want to be private. But let's get straight into it. I want to introduce my guest, very special person, Derrick Cox. Derrick Strawberry Cox. Strawberry is what he goes by here in Washington, D.C. He's a well-known HIV awareness and preventative health education advocate. He's also heavily involved in advocacy and lobbying for civil rights, liberties, and positivity upliftment for the LGBTQIA+ community. And to be more specific in how I know Derrick is whenever I'm going out or been at different social functions here in Washington, D.C., I used to see this bubbly, outgoing, lively personality who was just always having fun, always approachable, always welcome to everybody who were at the event or at the function. And he's also sent me words of encouragement whenever I posted a inspirational message. He's always saying something positive and nice, and it just always stood out to me. I've always appreciated that. I appreciate that from anyone. But more specifically, whenever I would go get my usual 6-month HIV, test, I saw his billboard at the clinic that I would go to because they have rapid testing. So I would see his billboard and I just saw his face. And in that moment for me, I just saw something great in this individual, as to where, I know him in person, but to see his billboard and know he's the face of, in preventative health for HIV, it just stood out. And so we had a conversation actually where we were talking about his future and where he's going with his life. And I told him, without even knowing too much about Derrick, I just said to him that what I saw, the limited interaction, I saw a power in him of, number one, in this topic, in this education that he has, along with his ability to articulate and talk about it. And I said, that stands out. And I said, if you continue with this, you're going to be placed on platforms, you're going to be placed in front of people you never imagined. And he may not have gotten it then, but next thing I know, not too long after that, I see Derrick in commercials. I see Derrick on more billboards. I see Derrick on the news. And it just brought a joy to my heart because it just speaks to what a lot of us see on social media with people posting inspirational messages about uplifting people and understanding of not having your own insecurities about you, that you can't recognize the power in someone else and lift that up. And so it just warms my heart to know we've come full circle, and to know that I'm a part of him just living in that power and that greatness of him being able to articulate about this topic. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome Derrick Cox.
What's going on, sir? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to collect my thoughts. On a sad note, I did just lose my great-grandmother yesterday. But you know what? She battled a long time, saying it's a lot going on. I just feel like, 2020 doing like a little roundabout real quick, but we gonna get there. So,
Okay.
But overall, I'm good. I'm blessed. Staying focused.
Very nice. Very nice. Somebody asked, can you ask questions? Absolutely. We'll get into that. So I'm going to ask Derrick some questions, and maybe in between we'll take a question from people. So if you have questions, by all means, submit them in the live, and I'll try to keep track of them. Derrick will see them, and we'll try to answer them as we go through. And if not, once he and I finish, the line of question that I have for him, we'll try to get to the questions that we see in the live. So we'll get straight into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So There, for people who may not know, what is the difference between having HIV and AIDS?
So the difference between HIV and AIDS is HIV obviously stands, well, not gonna say obviously, but HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. So it's like a virus that started within your body that's affecting your blood cells. Now, when it gets to a certain point when your white blood cells drop below a certain count under 200, then it becomes an deficiency of AIDS. That's when you get diagnosed with that because now your immune system has been abruptly affected and you can get sick easier and then you can start being torn from the inside out, basically, as they say.
Okay.
So HIV
And
is just the virus, but the AIDS is the disease.
okay. So
Oh,
when we
thank you,
hear people
Jacqueline.
so when we hear people passing away, are they mainly passing away? Are they passing away from HIV or are they passing away from AIDS? When people
So that's a tough iffy question because most of the times, like you said, most people don't know if they have HIV or AIDS. So sometimes they pass away not even knowing. And there are some people that just refuse to accept the fact that they are positive and they just won't take the medicine.
yeah,
But most of the times, if they do pass away, if it is HIV related, it would be AIDS because their immune system been compromised and everything basically just shut down, and there's just this system just too weak to function anymore.
yeah. Okay. All right. So when people okay, so let's talk about when someone says that HIV undetectable, what does that mean?
So when I tell people that I'm HIV undetectable, I let them know that that means that I'm actively taking my medicine and I'm actively staying in care with my doctor, which means that my CD4 cells are so much higher. I have way more white blood cells in my body that's fighting off the HIV virus, and I have a very low count of the HIV virus within my system. So low that I'm deemed undetectable. That means I'm okay. I'm not worried about getting sick. I'm not worried about, anything rarely happened to me as long as I'm taking care of my health and keeping those numbers of that viral load low.
Okay. Now, okay, so when I've heard someone say that HIV undetectable, especially when it comes to sexual activity, now this is where I want to really be educated because I've heard different answers.
Uh,
So if you're HIV positive undetectable and you have unprotected sex with someone, um, can you pass on the virus to someone, or how likely is it that you'll pass the virus on to someone if you have unprotected sex being HIV positive undetectable?
so when it falls in the category of U equals U, which means undetectable, means untransmittable, is basically saying that, like I said before, that the viral load within me is so low that I cannot pass it to another. So if someone did want to have unprotected sex, because I know we all still love condomless sex because we're only human, that means they don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about it too much with spreading the virus to another person. So I wouldn't have to have that on my conscience.
Okay. So so I just want to be clear. So is it 100% that if you have unprotected sex with an undetectable person, you won't get it, or is there still a possibility?
So I would never say anything is 100%, but there
Okay,
is a very strong possibility that you cannot get it from anyone that's undetectable.
gotcha. And that's if they're taking the meds consistently.
Actually, yes.
Okay,
But
okay,
this is a two-person journey. You still have your person that's actively taking their meds, but you still have to be able to be taking care of you as well.
exactly. Okay, all right. So in other words, I mean, so if someone was in a relationship with someone who is HIV positive and the person says they're undetectable, because you and I both know, we'll get into your story about how sometimes someone may not tell the truth. They may say they are undetectable when really they're not taking the meds like they should be doing. Um, I would say, number one, you have to do what's best for you, first and foremost.
Of course.
Because at the end of the day, your life is a result of the choices you make. So I would never, I would, I would, I would never tell someone, do what's comfortable for you.
Hmm.
But understand when you make that choice, if it is to have sex unprotected, that you have to live with what comes after that, whatever that is. Um, I mean, I guess in your education and your awareness, I mean, do you come across that? And what do you tell people when you come across someone who says, I'm living with someone HIV positive, he or she wants me to have unprotected sex, what should I do? What do you usually say to people like that?
So most of the times when I have these open dialogue conversations with people, with either my friends or people that's in my groups, I just let them know because I would never encourage anyone just for my own safety reasons. I would never encourage no one to have condomless sex if you're HIV positive. But if you do, and if you want to, and if you feel comfortable doing that, then that's fine. But what I
Yeah.
would encourage people is, you just have to be as honest and open as possible. Because I don't think anyone, and me speaking only for I statements of myself, I don't think I could ever feel comfortable knowing that I infected somebody else with this. And not even saying that it's not a death sentence anymore, because it's not. You can't just take one pill. Yeah, it's like a vitamin for me now, but I still wouldn't want to put that anxiety or that worry or that stress on another person. You feel
Gotcha.
me? And people have to understand and remember that, we all do love sex and lust is a real thing, but you don't want to, give all that up for just that one glorious moment. So I always feel like you should always communicate during sex.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and I mean, to go over, because sex is not the only way you can contract HIV. What are the ways that someone can contract HIV?
Well, so other ways people can contract HIV is through blood, semen, your genital fluids, breast milk, and then, of course, the obvious, the vagina, the anus, the penis. It's small. It's like a small genre, but also on a big scale.
Yeah. So
But
when
you
I
can't
mean,
get it from kissing, so you don't have to worry about that.
okay. So in your education about it, because I know people can get it from needles.
Yeah,
You know,
that would be
I
through
know
the blood,
individuals
yeah.
who have actually gotten it with, I guess in getting medication through a needle, they actually contracted HIV because something went wrong. So that is a real thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when in your education and in your advocacy with it, do you find most people contracted through sex, or is it something else? What have you found when you
Well, so that could change like various, like throughout the years. At first, it started with the needle exchange because, everybody used to use dirty needles. They use the same needles. But then, there's also sex survival. And, people was having sex to survive, to get where they needed to go or to get what they needed, period. So it was like a unbalanced situation right there. You can never really tell on the scales of level, when someone was affected or why they was affected at that time. Because, somebody could be doing sex survival and then probably end up on needles, or somebody could just be doing needles and end up doing sex survival. So it's a unbalanced scale, but it could be either or when it comes to that.
Okay. All right. So I see more people came into the room. By all means, keep sharing the conversation. Keep sharing it to your pages and other pages that you know of. This is Derrick Cox. I'm Dr. Thomas A. White, and we're having a conversation about living with HIV. So by all means, people submit your questions if you have them, but please keep sharing the conversation to other pages so people can get this information. Um, so Derrick, so we talked about the undetectable. Um, let's see. Let's get into you. How did you contract HIV?
Okay, so I'm gonna get into that, but I want to answer this one question. Someone
Okay.
asks, being that you can't transfer HIV and you're undetectable, is it wise to tell a random? So when people ask me that, or when we talk about it, if it's just a one night fling and you're actively taking your meds, you're undetectable. And if you choose once again to have condomless sex, and like I said, to protect yourself is to protect another. You don't have to display that information if you don't want to, especially if it is just a random or one night stand type situation scenario. As long as everybody's being protected, I can never force anyone to say you have to share that information with someone, even though that would be the ideal thing because you want to give someone that choice or that opportunity. But like, if as long as you're being safe and you're protecting them as well as you're protecting yourself, it should be fine.
Okay, so I mean, so that's actually a good question because we talked about this briefly about the legality of when you're supposed to disclose your status. And
Yeah.
remember, I asked you, you know, is it the law that if you are HIV positive, that when you have to disclose that? So based on what you just said, are you saying that if you wear a condom legally, you don't have to disclose that you're HIV positive? Is that?
Yeah, if you're wearing a condom, you don't have to tell your health situation at all because you're protecting yourself and the other person.
Okay. So only if it's unprotected do you have to disclose your HIV status, or if you're having unprotected sex. Just to.
But not even necessarily that. You don't have to disclose your sexual health to anyone, but if you feel comfortable enough to where you know for a fact that you're protected and you took the necessary steps to protecting yourself, you're undetectable, and you're not worried about transferring it to another, then I say, have fun, be human. We all live in our own various lives. And I don't want no one to feel like they have to take all the responsibility on themselves because, the other person also have to be aware of their own health rights and what they're doing to protect themselves as well.
Okay. So how, I mean, so when it comes to condoms and using condom use, I mean, do you find that condoms, because nothing, like I said, nothing is 100% safe.
Yeah.
But have you found that most times when people use condoms, when when dealing with an HIV positive person, they're usually protected and less likely to contract HIV when having sexual activity with this person
I
with
will
the use
have to
of
say
condoms?
I would have to say yes. I haven't heard any other stories or any, how they say them anonymous, tales or reports of anybody catching something with a condom on. So
Okay, all right. So we'll get into your story because I think that's the most, for me, that's one of the most intriguing things. It's always, I've heard different compelling stories, and I know with you because you're very open about your status, which was definitely something huge to me. When I know many people are not comfortable in saying anything, not even to their families. You own your situation and take ownership of it, responsibility of it, and you speak with articulation and a dignity in class. And I want to know where that comes from. So I want to know, first and foremost, when did you find out you contracted HIV?
So I found out March 2011, that I was HIV positive. And it was the most, I love telling the story because like to me it's funny, but it may not be funny to anybody else. But to me it's funny because I was taking my best friend to the doctor because she wanted to get checked because, she had various fun within the past week and she felt like she had something. So I was like, okay, we're going to go and we're going to go get tested together. So we just went to a random hospital and we just got tested together. And it was so funny because it only came back that she had a yeast infection. And I was like, see, you doing all of that and you being all dramatic, crying, praying at the last minute. You know how we do. We wait till the last minute to be like, if you do this for me, I won't do it again. But she was good, just the yeast infection. And then I asked the doctor, I was like, okay, well, what about me? But, I was jokingly. I was like, okay, well, what about me? And she just waved me off. She was like, oh, you HIV positive. Like she said it as if she already assumed that I knew that I was. And she just waved me off and she walked out the room. And we both gasped. And I had to go back and get her and was like, come here. What did you say? And
Yeah.
she's like, you HIV positive. I was like, no, I'm not. Like at first I was shocked and I didn't believe it. I was like, ain't that about a bitch? Like I couldn't believe it, but I had to call my doctor and set up an appointment. And then once I found out for the actual long term that I was actually HIV positive, then I was like, okay, then I need to take the necessary steps that I need to do to protect myself here for. But it was just so funny when I found out because my best friend was crying. She was like, I
Yeah.
don't understand how this can happen to you. You're such a good person. You don't do anything wrong. And I was just dying laughing. I was like, well, just because I'm good-hearted don't mean that saves me from any STDs or viruses. I was like, I'm still a freak. I'm nasty. But after we found out, I called my mother. She was the first person I called, and I let her know that I was HIV positive. And she, like me and her, kind of share the same mindset type situation scenario when it comes to survival of the fittest. She was just like, well, you've been through worse. You'll be all right. And I was like, yeah, I feel the same. So, but I just wanted you to know. So after I found out, I started taking my meds or started that journey of finding out what meds would work best for me. And
Yeah.
then I stand today undetectable. Yeah.
Very nice. And that's interesting because, like I said, I know, and like, again, me and you were talking earlier, and I told you that I know people when they found out, like you, they instantly went into, okay, I gotta get into responsibility mode and to deal with this. This is my new normal. But I also know people that when they found out, they just broke down, like, their world crumbled. And I it's always interesting when I hear someone who, there was no grieving process. And with you, it didn't sound like there was a grieving process. Why do you think some people have a different reaction as to where some people instantly go into, okay, I got it. I need to get my meds. Let's get started. And then some people go into full breakdown as to where they think the world has ended. Why do you think that is?
Well, I feel like, for most people, a lot of us, even though we might know about something, we still have that mentality like that'll never happen to me or I'm not worried about it. So
Mhm.
once something like that hits you, it's like an anxiety. It's like your reality's been broken. Like this is my reality now. This is real. This is happening. Like, okay, so what am I going to do? And for somebody to find out that they're HIV positive, it's going to always be hard, no matter how easy living situation is now, as far as like taking one pill, it's still gonna be hard because you have to now you believe you have to deal with the stigma, the judgment, the acceptance, the telling other people, but also accepting within yourself if you ever gonna find love, if that's even a possibility now. So it's just like a lot of stuff that goes on within the mind and stress and anxiety that a lot of people just not ready for. So sometimes it hits you and sometimes it don't. But most of the times, if it's a bad reaction, you just don't believe it at that moment that you find out.
Okay. So when you like disclose your status to your family and friends, did you receive any kind of like backlash or ostracizing, or was it kind of like this is what it is?
Well, I never received any backlash from me being positive. The only thing I can say about it is, and not necessarily when I say this, I don't want people to think bad about my family. It's just that, we all have that situation in our lives where you have people that are, I'm gonna say the word envious because I don't like the word jealous, but you have people that are envious of you. So it's like certain people, along with family, when they found out I was HIV positive, they were a little excited about it because they themselves put me on this high pedestal as though they thought or believed that I felt like I was a perfect individual, and I'm far from being perfect. I just love being positive. Period. I love spreading joy. That's what I do. It's something that I can do. And when a few people found out I was HIV positive, they was on that yes factor, like, okay, he's not perfect. He is a fuck up. He can do wrong. But it was funny to me. It's like a continued funny journey. I was like, well, I mean, okay, I'm still here. Like, it's all right.
Yeah.
Like, I never want people to put me on this high pedestal that they believe I am, because I always had this strong belief, and I still do to today. Anything that I do, you can do too if you chose to.
Okay. So when you come across people, and I'm sure you have, I'm sure you come across someone who had the whole grieving process reaction.
Oh, yeah.
What was your, I mean, what did you tell them, I guess, and I guess when they first told you, what were some of your words of encouragement or wisdom to them, in having that response? What would you say?
Well, most of the times when I let people, once they find out, and they feel comfortable with talking to me and sharing their story, I always ask them, the first question is always, do you feel supportive? I always want to make sure that they feel supportive. And if they do, then I ask them, what does that support look like for you? Far as, can you be completely honest with these people that supposedly support you? So that means, if you do have an episode or a breakdown moment, if you have suicidal thoughts, whatever that looks like, are these people that you can call, they come there, or you can go there? I need to know what your support system looks like. And if I have to be a support system, and I'm a support system for a few, more than I want to be, but it's all good. But I'm a support system for a few because I always want people to be in the right state of mind. So after I make sure that you feel comfortable and supported, then I make sure that I want you to acknowledge what's happened, and I need you to accept it.
Okay.
After that acknowledgement and that acceptance of this is what it is, then we can get on that road to you doing what you need to do and being comfortable with doing it. Whether I'm with you or whoever your support is. Like, I just need you to be comfortable with it, and I need you to take care of you, because right now your health, honestly, your health comes first in general. But when things hit you at a moment of uncertainty, then your health comes first, regardless, before anything else.
Yeah.
Because you can't go to work and get that money if you're too sick to damn go. It's as simple as that. You can't take care of somebody if you can't take care of yourself. It's just as simple as that.
Very true. Everybody, this is Derrick Cox. We are talking living with HIV. Derrick is a HIV preventative health and awareness about HIV. Also very well known here in DC for his advocacy, especially with civil rights and liberties for the LGBTQIA plus community. Please keep sharing the conversation, keep getting people in, ask questions as we keep talking. Derrick, how has dating been for you? Because that's another thing that I come across with a lot of people is for those, again, who are not as open as you are, it's always they start dating someone, and it's always that dreadful moment when it's time to have that conversation. So how has dating been for you with you having HIV?
Being honest, dating has been hard, but I mean, dating was hard for me before I became HIV positive, but me being HIV positive made it even more harder. And I won't say because I'm HIV positive necessarily, I'll just say the community, and I love them dearly, but the community kind of makes it hard for me to date because, anytime somebody do choose to want to be with me, you know, they have to deal with so much, you know, stigma or judgment or assumptions. Because, you know, a lot of people that back in the day when people used to be with me, they would get assumed for being HIV positive as well because I was HIV positive. And, you know, nobody want that stigma attached to them.
Yeah.
And then you have people that's not so a part of the LGBT community. And, you know, obviously I'm just like this walking spotlight of it. And, you know, everybody don't want to shine with me. You know, they rather me shine by myself. And as you see, I do a lot. But I know how to make time and separate that. But a lot of people is not able to handle or agree with everything that I'm all about as a whole. So,
Yeah.
and I understand that it's a lot to deal with when you dating somebody like me, you know, with you know, public figure, face of the community, being openly HIV positive, you know, just doing everything that I do. I can understand how hard it is to be with somebody like that. And a lot of people I've tried to date, you know, they felt intimidated by me, which is something I wish would stop because I'm still a random person. I bleed just like you bleed, you know.
Yes.
But you know,
So somebody,
it's still fun. You know, I do what I can.
okay. So somebody asked Derrick, they asked about the disclosure of your HIV status. They asked when we're talking about, you know, is it the law that you have to disclose it when dealing with someone sexually? They asked, is that really a fact that you don't have to disclose your HIV status, or is that your opinion? Somebody asked that question.
So I have to be honest, it is in certain states and cities, it is the law that you tell somebody that you're HIV positive if you are having unprotected sex with them. Because certain places, if someone finds out that they're HIV positive and then they trace back to you that you were positive and they know that they had sex with you, they can actually take you to court and you can be charged. I think it was either third or fourth degree, like a third or fourth degree murder charge, because it's basically like giving this person a disease that's going to kill them, even though it's not a death sentence anymore. So some
Okay.
states, it is law that you have to tell a person that you're HIV positive, but only if you're actually dealing with this person. And that's why I tell people, like, you should just be open and honest to yourself, and just make sure if you're not going to use condoms, that you make sure you stay on top of your health, keep it undetectable, and
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about going through that. I can't never tell, like I said before, I can't tell anybody that they have to, you know, tell their status to anyone, because we're all dealing with something, you know,
Okay.
because the way I used to see it back in the day is, you know, I had 3 people stand up and I'd be like, okay, this person has diabetes, this person has HIV, this person has cancer. Now they're all beautiful, they all got money, they all got their own place, they all got their own car. Now, you're going to tell me that each of them, you have to know their health sexual variations. And if you already had sex with them unprotected and then found out about their health, how would you feel? And it was like an icebreaker. It was a entertaining and
Yeah.
global, because it gave you something to think about. Because a lot of us don't think about, you know, somebody else's health, and we don't think about our own health. All we think about is that fun and that lust in that moment. It's just like, you know, if I'm agreeing to have sex with you and you agreeing to have sex with me, all right, well, when we're going to do this, I'm excited, you excited, let's do it. Then
Yeah.
after it's done, that's when we want to think about it. Like, okay, well, I know I didn't use protection. I wonder if they had an STD or if they had HIV. We want to think about all that other stuff then. But is this all like, it's always like that. It's weird, but that's how we kind of build as a society.
Okay. That's true. So just to be clear, because I know someone is going to come up and ask a question like they did. So you have to disclose it legally if you're having unprotected sex. Is that right? Is that
If you're having unprotected sex with somebody, yes, and you're actually dating them, or you're married to them, like if y'all
okay?
actually in a serious relationship, yes, you have to let them know that you're positive.
Okay.
Because
But if you
if they end up positive, they can charge you.
they
Yes.
can charge you, and you have to prove that they gave it to you, right? That's
Oh yes, definitely. That you have to prove that.
absolutely
Yeah.
okay. All right. If anybody, people, if you have questions, by all means, be sure you put it into live. Keep sharing the conversation. Um, I'm trying to think. So, Derrick, when you found out from the guy that you were dating, when you found out that he lied about having HIV, did that change your ability to trust people?
No, not necessarily. It just changed my ability to have unprotected sex with people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily trust, just was like, because before I found out I was HIV positive, my body was my temple. And even
Yeah.
after I found out, which, you know, I was a little bit disappointed in myself, because like I said, my body is still my temple. And it was my job to protect myself. So like if everybody that's saying in the comments, responsibility is on both sides. That's a real thing. Like I said before, I never want the person that's positive feel like they have to have the full responsibility to take care of themselves and the other person, because the other person also have to take heed to what they're doing. Is because it's a two-part parties. Like if we're both having unprotected sex, then that's what we both agreed to. So, and it's just like, I wasn't necessarily, I was hurt because he didn't tell me. Yeah, I won't lie and say that I was hurt because I felt like that trust was already there and we told each other everything. But then I was also hurt with myself because I had to acknowledge and then accept my own responsibility that while I was taking care of me, I wasn't being fully accepting of my responsibility, making sure like when I went to go get tested, he went to go get tested also. You know, and since we lived together and since we was together, your business is my business, so I should have been more on top of that on my end. So I did accept that responsibility for myself.
Gotcha. Okay. So somebody asked a question, Derrick. TQ asked, how can you prove in court it was that person that infected you if you're promiscuous?
So the only way they can prove it in court or just have a little lineup regardless is if that person, they can only go back to either 6 months to that person being undetectable, negative. So if they if they was negative 6 months ago, but then they positive now, then they bring in everybody that they can have or that they can find that they've had sex with within that last 6 months. And whoever, honest, it's crazy, but whoever is positive, then it's sad, but that person get to choose who they're going to charge, even if it does end up being more than one person that was positive.
Yeah.
You know, within that sex lineup, but they get to pick and choose who they get to charge with that, and it's crazy, but that's the way that the system is set up until they're able to find a better creative system. But that's why that's why it only goes in a few states only prove that's why it's still crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy because again, I mean, because as you said, you could have very well had sex with 6 positive people, and and you may say the first one when it was the fourth one who actually you may have gotten it from.
Yeah,
but there's really no genetic way to know if that fourth person gave it to you. Is that right? I'm understanding.
It's never really no real way to know. That's why I said they can, like, only if you're in a serious relationship or if you're married, then you can definitely charge that person, and that's that's easier in court versus just lining them up and just finding out who was positive and like, oh well, I remember I don't like him. It was him, type situation scenario.
Do you ever think it'll get to where they can trace it like that? Do you know if that'll ever happen?
Probably not, honestly, because that's trying to trace who gave you HIV is also like trying to trace who gave you an STD. Like, it's I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but I'm gonna say it's a long process if that's something you want to do and a line that you want to go down. Because working in the health field, you have people that that come in, then if they test positive for any STD, we ask them, if you can be honest and let us know who was the last few people that you had sex with, and you can give them their name and number, and they will call that person and just let that person know that you was exposed to this or that. And if you just come in, get tested and get treated, before we can stop the spread. So, but it's never going to be as easy as that, though. So it's going to be a forever long process. But like, it's easier if you're in a committed relationship or if you're married.
Gotcha. Because STDs or HIV in particular, it doesn't have a genetic code like blood does. You can't say, okay, you're this type, and it connects to this person the way that, okay. So it definitely makes sense.
It's like a bullet. They don't got no name, it's just you.
I'm trying to think. So we talked about the trust issue, that you kind of didn't lose trust, and I guess in dating, did you take a period where you kind of just stopped dating people or you stopped having sex? Did you go through that period at all?
Well, yeah, I definitely went through the process where I stopped having sex because, for a while, I've always been looked at, just speaking for myself, I always been looked at as like a sexual object because of my red hair or my green eyes or my beautiful smile, the same compliments that you hear over and over again. But it's just like, I wanted to fall back from that. And becoming positive, it kind of like helped me slow down a little bit because I had to, just visualize everything that I was wearing or how I was talking, because I've been told that I am very flirtatious, even if I'm just being nice. But I had to, just watch how I was doing or how I presented myself, because I tried to get to that point where I don't want you to look at me as just like a lustful figure. I want you to look at me as a person. Like, yeah, okay, you may want to fuck me, but let's just be
Yeah.
friends. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I took a step back from sex, and it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard because I was very sexually active all my life since the age of 9. So yeah.
So somebody brought up something interesting there, and this actually goes into the whole Pose scenario, the show Pose. Somebody asked the question: did the number of deaths decrease in AIDS from the '80s to now, being that there are meds?
Yes, the numbers of death with AIDS, yes, definitely have decreased. Yeah, but
Okay.
like I say, if anyone today died from HIV or AIDS, it's literally because they chose to, honestly, because they even didn't want to get on the meds, so they just didn't want to accept the fact that they was HIV positive.
Okay. Not taking the medicines, the medications that they have now, because now with HIV, when the medications is it just one pill or is it still multiple pills?
Oh no, it's so many one pill regimens. It's amazing. Like I suck at taking pills, so that literally was my biggest issue becoming positive, because I was like, damn, I gotta take a pill every day. That was my biggest issue, because I choked on an M&M or a Skittle rather, a Skittles when I was 17, and from there that kind of ruined it for me. Like I gave up Tic Tacs, M&Ms, Skittles, anything small candy wise, because there was like a real moment. I was really choking, and I just scared the hell out of me. I was like, we ain't going through that again. But to find out I had to take pills every day, that it was crazy. So I definitely had to get a one pill regimen, even though that still like didn't help. I still had to like get comfortable with taking the medicine, because no matter how I threw the pill back there, and no matter how much juice or water I drank, it's like it went around the pill and it just sat right there at the back of my throat and it didn't go down. And then if it did try to go down, my goofy butt gagged it back up. It's just, and you don't want that pill to like disintegrate in your mouth from the liquid, because it is so disgusting. So disgusting.
And I know people who are like that, and just in general, when it comes to taking any type of pill, it's just hard for them to take it. So I know people who actually have a gag reflex when taking any type of pill. They just can't do it. So I definitely understand what you're saying. Absolutely.
I mean, I've learned to do it easier now because I just got accustomed to it, but it's easier for me to take my pills with either orange juice or my strawberry milk, because both of those just is like, I just throw it back there, then I just drink it and just go right down. I keep my throat open. Yeah, I keep my throat. I learned how to keep my throat open. There you go.
So by taking it with something, I guess a liquid that you like soda or something like that, it helps. Okay.
But no, so I don't recommend taking it with soda. Acid, for some weird reason, gives you like a more nauseous effect. So stay away from the acids. But yeah, any juice or milk or but nothing with acid, no sodas, and definitely no liquor. No liquor. Do not ever take your HIV meds with liquor. Not even wine.
Now, why is that? Why is that?
I learned my lesson on 2 accounts. When I tried it with liquor, because I carry my pills out on me, so and I have an alarm. So back in the day when I used to go out to the club, and so if my alarm went off, then because I don't drink when I go out, I have a natural high. I enjoy myself while I'm out, and if I do, I probably have 1 drink or 2 with my friends because they're all drinking and they want me to drink too. But it was this one instance where my alarm went off. I had to take my pill, and at the same time, my friend already brought me a drink, but it was a liquor drink, and I just went in the bathroom, popped my pill, and swallowed it. But like probably 10, 15 minutes later, terrible cramp pain in my stomach. It felt like bees was inside my stomach. I ended up getting diarrhea. Like it was just a terrible experience. And I'm up here thinking like, what is going on? What's happening? But once I told my doctor, she was like, well, yeah, I can't take it with liquor. I was like, well, you tell me now. I probably already knew that, but now I officially know.
Well, I was about to say, Derrick, you shouldn't take any type of medications with liquor. I
know, but back in the day, I used to be crazy. I mixed NyQuil and DayQuil with liquor. Not saying you should try this, no one, but I'm just saying, I was a little cray back in the day. You like to try new stuff.
Right. I get it. So some people have to learn in their own way. I get it.
You're right. Yeah. Look,
I
as
get
I
it.
said, yeah, I am not perfect. I ain't always the brightest. All I knew was, let me just go ahead and take this pill, get it out the way, go back to having fun. But I learned to take it with juice.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings me into, we're talking about the medications. So when you see the show like Pose, because I know the show Pose on FX, they I guess in the history of ballroom, they talk about the whole AIDS epidemic through the 80s and early 90s. When you see Pose like that, I mean, what is your reaction when you see them depicting the history of AIDS? What's your reaction when you see it?
So I've watched Pose, and I was very proud of that. That I was proud of it all. It was very realistic. They did a lot of, and even the cast themselves, some of them was actually acting out their own experience and sharing their own story. It was wonderfully done. It was just, it was beautiful. I loved it because they, like, even with the doctors displaying the information, the support system, the judgment, the stigma behind it all, how it was literally affecting them as a whole community. It was like they literally took, I felt like they went out into the streets and they got the real stories and they just displayed it on the show. So I was proud of everyone, and I knew so many members of the in the show Pose, and I was just proud of it. So they need to go ahead and bring it back because it's beautifully done. It, heads up, like they got it.
So do you think it's been like a good learning resource for people when it comes
Well,
to
yeah,
HIV?
yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people, straights too. Like they learned so much about the ballroom community, about the LGBT community, about HIV, how it was back then versus how it is now. They learned a lot about it. Being in a closet, DL, it was just very informative on so many different aspects of literally everything dealing with our community as a whole or the lifestyle that we choose to live.
Yeah. Okay. Now, can you speak on, so remember we talked about the whole impose, the medication that they were giving people back then called AZT. Now, this is where I want people to really get this because this was real interesting when Derrick told me this. So
Mhm.
Derrick, when they were giving AZT to some of the characters who had AIDS or HIV in Pose, tell
Mhm.
people what they were actually giving them.
Well,
What was
most people, if you've done your research, you would know that AZT was a cancer drug. So, because they didn't have anything for HIV or AIDS back in the day, because they didn't know what it was. So when they found out what it was, and the only thing they could give for it was that strong drug, which was the AZT for cancer, but only because it was helping fight in the HIV making copies, and but at the same time it was destroying so many other stuff, like because you taking this
body?
pill that's not really working for the body, and it's not really working for what you have, but it's just trying to help you, fight off it making copies and with your white blood cells, but it's also destroying the iron and it's destroying your calcium, and it's working with you but also against you on a global scale. So you had to take more pills just to counteract the effects of this one pill, and it was a lot. And it was hard, definitely. And it's sadly, like I said before, they all had a support system, and they had the whole bedside residence. Like if you were dying, and you would get somebody there that would love you and support you, and they would be there with you on your deathbed. And once you died, they would take your pills and just spread them out through whoever else needed them. That's all
Yeah.
they could do. Because mind you, it was very expensive back in the day for whatever these drugs was that they really didn't even know. So most people didn't have health care, and then they still wasn't giving you what you really needed because really didn't know what it was. So it was a lot, and the death rate was crazy, but the support was so real within the system itself, within the community. The support was real, and and it was sad to see it how it was done. But all you could really do was support somebody until they died.
Okay. So so just to be clear, so AZT essentially was a chemo drug
Yes.
that they were giving them.
Hmm.
So pretty much they were giving them chemotherapy to deal with the AIDS and HIV. And I think you said again because it was so new, they were giving them what they thought was, that they had available at that time.
Yeah, because it was
So,
such a strong drug, and it was like
yeah.
that was the best thing they could think of at that time.
Okay. So the additional pills they would take then, such like, protein pills and iron pills to rebuild what the AZT was breaking down. Is that what that was for?
Yeah, so along with the additional pills with, the calcium, the protein, the iron, you still had to take other pills because, you probably got nauseous or you got headaches or you had diarrhea. So you had to take pills that could combat that. And you had to take pills if your stomach got, acid infection, you had to take a pill for that while you had to be on antibiotics. So it was so much you had to take just to make sure that you kept your body at least somewhat balanced throughout the day, even if
Yeah.
even if that was for an hour or two.
Okay.
So, and that's why most people just decided not to take the drug at all, and and just go in peace, because it was such a process either being on the medicine itself.
So I want people to really, I really wanted people to hear that, because again, when I saw posts, and I didn't take the time to look up AZT, and so when you told me about that, that blew my mind,
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't, again, not knowing, it blew my mind that they were giving them chemotherapy essentially. So
Mm-hmm.
it made more sense as to why the show there's a specific scene in Pose where the characters really didn't want to take, they were frightened to take AZT. And
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense now, because essentially that it was chemotherapy. So now I understand why. So thank you. You really educated me on that. And I hope everybody watching, I hope you were educated. So again, this is Derrick Cox. We are talking about living with HIV. By all means, continue to share the conversation. This is it's a very important topic. It's something that we sweep under the rug, especially within the Black community, but it is real. Nine times out of 10, even if you don't know firsthand knowledge, somebody has HIV, and most likely not want to reveal or talk about it for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they want to be private. Sometimes they just don't feel comfortable, because there are people who won't even disclose to their own families. And my hope is that this conversation creates a dialogue where people receive some education, as where we start pushing that, and more people can start becoming more sources where those who are HIV positive don't feel, at the very least, they don't feel a fear to talk about their status. They want to be private, that's one thing, but it's the getting rid of the fear is my hope from this conversation, or starting to get rid of the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick, Derrick, in your advocacy and in your education, do you come across more men with HIV, or do you come across more women with HIV?
Well, because I work strongly with the LGBT community, but I still deal with a lot of heterosexuals as well. I definitely come across way more men. But
Mm-hmm.
I've dealt with a lot. I dealt with a lot of women as well, but it's definitely been way more men, because it's so much within the gay community to just with a man accepting the fact that he's gay, with that, and then with him either being masculine or feminine, and then with him even accepting the fact that he is either bending over into a man or inserting himself within a man. So it's all that goes back to acceptance, acknowledgement within oneself, was self-love and true acceptance with ourselves and being authentic. But
Yeah.
it's the men. It's the men,
So
because
so
it's a lot of pressure on them.
why do you think that? So why do you think it is? Why do you think it's so? So let's just say the high rate of men contracting HIV is because of the unprotected sex. Why do you think it's such a huge need to have unprotected sex? When knowing that there's a possibility you can contract HIV, why do you think so men would choose to take that risk? Why do you think that is?
Well, most of the times, like I said, it's for survival sex, or just outside of being for survival sex, it's just for a feel good moment, or you live in that DL lifestyle experience, because it's hard to be who you want to be and have everyone else around accept that, and you can't even accept that because you're so worried about what everybody else is going to think and how they're going to judge you, the friends you're going to lose, or the family members you're going to lose, or if they're going to accept you or not. It's so much stigma that you put on yourself because you're worried about how everybody else is going to see you and their opinion of you. And it's sad, but it's true. Like
Yeah.
I have an ex-boyfriend who's bisexual, and we have a strong friendship. But it's so funny because he blames me for him being straight, because we was dating, but I felt like at that time we was dating, it was just a strict, sex thing, because he still had that DL lifestyle. So, and I told him I wanted more, so I just stepped away from that. And he felt like him having sex with a female was his way of getting back to me. But the female he decided to have sex with, he did it unprotected, and she ended up being pregnant. And she wasn't going to
Mm.
get rid of the baby, so that was his, even though I don't like to say it, but he say that was his first mistake. And I was like, well, you don't never want your child to, feel like it was a mistake, even though, it kind of was, whatever. But so we're still friends to this day, but he will always say the same thing. He's like, it's your fault my life turned out like this, because he felt like I should have helped him discover who he was and being okay with it. And I was like, well, I mean, I was trying to along the way, but I can't make you be okay with you. That's a job only you can do. I can't force you to accept yourself.
So
You
he's
know,
positive? Is he positive?
so no, he's not positive. He just
Okay.
got 3 kids with 3 different women, and he blamed me for him, that DL lifestyle he was living. But he's not positive, thank God, even though he was living a very risky lifestyle. But yes,
Yeah.
he's still negative.
Okay. So just to give people, kind of a little statistic. So the information that I'm reading from comes from cdc.gov. And so for those who may want to know more information and numbers about the HIV rates, you can go to cdc.gov. So yeah, so the statistic that they have is from 2018. That's the most recent one they have. They said in 2018, gay, bisexual, and other men who it said in 2018, gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men accounted for 69% of all new HIV diagnoses in the United States and 6 dependent areas. In the same year, heterosexuals made up 24% of all HIV diagnoses. And then, like I said, like that goes back to I asked you why you think that is, and as you said, and that's true, as I've come across within the Black gay community, especially with Black gay males, that need for unprotected sex or desire, it is a real thing. But I think in general, it's a real thing for men in general. I don't think it's just a gay thing. I think it's just a
Oh
men
yeah, no, definitely, yeah. It's just in general.
in
Yeah,
general.
we're all
Um,
lustful by nature, and we want to feel good.
yeah,
That's it.
gotcha. Okay. Um, Again, this is Derrick Cox. We're talking living with HIV. If anybody has any questions, by all means, this is the time to ask this. Derrick, there's been a lot of positive feedback. I don't know if you've noticed, but I think people have just been applauding you for just being so transparent. And it is a huge thing because it's not, like I said, when a lot of people would choose to keep it very hush-hush about their status, you're very open. But as I told everybody in the beginning, that was the power that I noticed in Derrick when I first met him, and just seeing all of the different achievements he was doing. I knew there was something great about him being able to do this because there's a power and articulation he has when talking about the topic, and he does it with such dignity and grace that makes someone who I think anyone that may have it makes them feel comfortable to ask questions or help them to feel as though they can still have a happy, healthy lifestyle. Because as you can see, Derrick is alive, strong, and vibrant. So it is possible. So people, please understand, HIV is not a death sentence. I know a lot of people know that already, but there are a lot of people who don't know it, which is why we're doing this conversation. Derrick, through it all, and this is what I try to ask all my guests, through it all, what are some of the greatest lessons you've had, greatest lessons that you learned since finding out you had HIV?
Honestly, one of my greatest lessons finding out I had HIV is that I could, and it's weird, but that I can help more people. Because it's as weird as it is, like, even though I wanted to help everybody before I was positive, trying to help the HIV community, they wasn't really seeing it or trying to hear me because, I wasn't living the experience. I don't know what it is, and type situation scenario. So not saying I was happy to become HIV positive, but it's like once I did become, I was like, ha, yes, I do. So it's just like, and I still, on some global scales, there's still a lot of people that I still don't understand their experience. Nobody's experience will ever be the same. So you can't expect any of us to share the same experience, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience. I haven't had any bad experience for it, but that's just me, and that's just how my life. Like I don't worry about something if I have no control over it. So that's how one of the main reasons how I'm able to stay happy. I can't let something stress me out that I know for a fact that I can't change.
Gotcha.
And that's just like even with the actions of other people. I accept the fact that people got their own story and they've gone through whatever that they've gone through, and so however they're acting out at that point is because of whatever they're going through or what they're constantly dealing with right now in that base-to-base situation. And that's why even when people being negative, I show love to everyone, regardless if you love me or not, care for me or not, gay, straight, bi, trans or not. I don't care however I don't care if you don't care for me. I'm still gonna love on you, and if you need me, I'm still gonna help you because I have nothing against nobody, and I feel like we shouldn't have nothing against each other. It irritates me and bother me that
Yeah.
a lot of us have this inner hatred towards each other, and that there's a lot of stigma, that gays and trans can't get along, and that trans can't get along, and it's sad to say that stigma because it's actually true, but I would hope that would change,
Yeah.
in the near future.
Okay. So I heard you say one of your greatest lessons is again learning to accept the things you can't control,
Yes.
and that's a powerful lesson. Okay. So somebody asked Derek. Somebody asked, would you date an HIV undetectable person?
Of course, yes. I've dated a negative man. I've also dated a positive man. We double positive. But yes, I would give anyone a chance. Not anyone. But if we click, I'll give you a chance.
Yeah. So it has less to do with their status and more to do with just the personality of the.
Yeah. Like to me, I care about your health, but that's not that's not that's not who I am. You have to take care of that. I care about it, but you gotta take care of it. Now, when it comes to having sex, then I'll be more nosy about it,
Yeah.
because of things I want to do or the things you want to do. But
Yeah.
outside of that, your health is your situation, your choice, your problem.
And that's interesting you should say that because again, I have the same sentiments because like I said, I have come across it's a real thing. I mean, when you come across people who do have HIV um and I won't get into my story because it's about you, it's not me. But I mean, there was a point where, when I was meeting people back to back to back who had it, and at first it was frightening because it was like, I kind of felt like it was chasing me a little bit. And I was like, I keep meeting, where it's just back to back the next person I date or they have it. Where I just kind of, because I look at signs sometimes and I kind of feel like it just keeps happening. That's where it just made me think, what is life trying to tell me? But what I found in my own education and being educated about it is that when I've dated guys is that it has less to do with their status and again more to do with their personality. I can't think of a situation where I've ever not dated someone because of their status. Again, being educated, I've been educated at a very early age. And I would just say that to people, as to if you're educated and again, protecting yourself, making responsible decisions for you. So again, you can live with your choice. But for me, I know that whenever I've dated someone, it has never been about that status. If we didn't work out, it was personality differences or just something else beyond their status. So no, it is possible. And let me say this, I have fallen in love with someone who has been HIV positive. So let me just say that to anyone who has is dating someone or is HIV positive, understand that it is possible to find someone who will love you despite your status. And that relationship didn't work out, but again, it had nothing to do with that status. So that's something I want to put out there. Just if that can help anyone, especially when it comes to dating, this way, if you have a concern, understand that you still can be loved. It is possible, and I know that person to be a wonderful person. Again, we just didn't work out for other reasons. Let's see. So, that's another important thing, Derrick. PrEP, the drug PrEP. For people who don't know, what is PrEP?
So PrEP is basically, what's a one-a-day pill that could prevent you from catching HIV. PrEP is pre-exposure prophylactics. You can Google it for the correct terminology. But you can say it's a one-a-day pill that you can take to prevent yourself from catching HIV. That's what PrEP is. And outside of PrEP, even before PrEP was a thing, there was a pill called PEP. And they used to tell, so if you ever got raped, whether you were a man or a woman back in the day, or even up until then, if you got raped or if you just had, a drunk or high one night stand and you wasn't too sure if you had unprotected sex or if you knew you had unprotected sex, then you can go to the doctors and let them know that you want to take a PEP pill. PEP is a pill they give you. It's almost like PrEP, but they give you that and you take it for the first 2 weeks. So if you were exposed to HIV then they can catch it early. You can basically kill any of the cells that's in it and gonna be out your system, and you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, so PEP or PrEP. So PEP is the before pill and PrEP is the after pill.
Okay. So let me make sure I'm understanding you right, because I know my doctor has talked with me about PrEP.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something he's recommended to specifically HIV negative people who may, disengage in sexual activity, period.
Yeah,
So
that
you
have
take,
condomless. Yeah, if you have condomless
okay,
sex, they would definitely want you to take PrEP.
okay. So you take, so PrEP is for HIV negative people as a preventive, not preventative, but a
No, it's just a preventative. Yeah.
preventative. So you
Yeah.
take that pill, but you have to take it consistently, right? It's not a
Yes,
one time.
you have to take it every day.
Okay, so it's just like if you have to take it just like an HIV positive person has to take their pill. Okay.
Yep. And the
Okay.
confusion part that a lot of people get confused is some people, they won't take their PrEP pill unless they know they're going to have sex that day or, within that week. And it's like, no, you have to already have that barrier within your body. So you need to already be taking it constantly once you get prescribed your PrEP pill. So
Okay.
you have to take it every day because you can also become immune to PrEP pill. Like any pill or any drug that you take, if you keep missing your doses, your body become immune to it and it don't work for you. It does nothing for you. So you have to constantly take it if that's your choice.
Okay. So when someone starts taking PrEP, how long before it kicks in to start working for someone?
Well,
Like
so
HIV negative?
for the most part, most people feel the effects either on the third or fourth day. It's just like a little nausea feeling because it's a new drug you're putting into your body, so you're gonna feel a little woozy, you're gonna feel nauseated, but it goes away as you constantly take it. It goes away after the first week. Like all the symptoms go away after the first week. And most
Okay.
people give up on the first week because of whatever symptoms they having. But if you can make it through that week trimester, then you'll be fine.
Okay. Now my doctor said that sometimes when people take PrEP, they don't. I mean, there's a possibility they don't have any side effects at all. It's just
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Yes,
a
that's the thing.
possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
my HIV meds that I'm on, I have no side effect from it. I love it. It's beautiful. And it's
Okay.
small. Ugh, I love
Okay.
it.
So I would, along with what Derrick is saying, I would definitely say, for those, discuss with your health physician about PrEP so they can, again, give you more specific information because it is something you have to be prescribed on, right, Derrick? They have to
Oh yes,
prescribe.
definitely. Yeah, you can't get it unless you're prescribed to it. So yeah.
Gotcha. So, I would tell everyone that, again, if you are HIV negative, dating an HIV positive person, and, you do have a concern in engaging sexual activity with them, PrEP is a option. So be sure you
Mhm.
discuss that with your health physician. And also, I'm sure there is information on cdc.gov, and I'll
Definitely.
be sure to post that. So again, know that there are options along with the positive person being undetectable, right, Derek? That's what I'm
Mhm.
learning. What I've learned. Number two, PrEP as an additional measure. There's always condoms. If you
Always condoms.
always condoms. Um, yeah. So there are options as to where it can work between a positive and a negative person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like
So
Tanya said, she said it's just like birth control. So yeah, I tell anybody, my pill is just like a vitamin pill. My man's one a day gummy. I'm just popping it and taking it. Boom, I'm good
yeah,
for the day. So yeah.
yeah. So let's say when women are dating a HIV positive man, and when it comes to them getting pregnant or wanting to have a baby, do you know how that works? And I guess how it works as far as them trying getting pregnant safely and then having a healthy baby.
Oh
Can you
yes, definitely. So either in my case or anybody that's positive, as long as you remain undetectable and you're actively taking your meds, you're still undetectable. You can have a full healthy baby that's not even HIV positive. I believe, if I'm correct, that they took AZT and reformed that drug for pregnant women, for they could breastfeed their babies, and they put them on AZT. They call it another drug now. I just can't remember the name of it, but they reformed the drug AZT for pregnant women so they can make sure that the baby was completely healthy and HIV negative, and that they'd be able to, give them breastfeed their child without any problem.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
they got pregnant women, they got them down, they're taken care of.
Okay. All right. So lastly, do you ever think there'll ever be a cure for HIV?
I believe, always speaking from my own I statements, I believe there's a cure for everything that's been created in this crazy world. But, we live in a world where, money resides and you have to make money. And, there's a level of power and control that's in order. So, that's just my take on that.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Uh,
outside of that, then yeah, I believe there'd be a cure for everything one day.
okay. Because I know there's a hope. I mean, I have people that I talk to. I know that is something that in the back part of their mind, they're always hoping that at some point the big reveal will come. Because I know at one point there was something that, when there was some man in a different country saying that he was actually cured from HIV. And I don't know, it was a different, I think through bone marrow. I don't know if you'd heard about that.
Yeah, so it was 3 cases of that.
Okay.
But I don't know too much of that education. Just like with Dr. Sabi, he used worldly items, herbal medicinal medicines, that he created, with just certain items and fruits and stuff like that. So I mean, like I said, you never know what or how the body really functions, and how we can, work with what's around us versus actual medicine. But there's a possibility for anything. Because I mean, even there's been cases where people was on PrEP, but they ended up still being positive. And I'm like, well, it can happen if you're not actively taking the PrEP. And hold on one second. Okay, so someone asks, if you are HIV positive having sex with another HIV positive person, should you use PrEP because they have a different type of HIV than you? So that would be a strong no. If it's two people that's HIV positive, you already have your own medicine. So
Mm.
since we're positive, we're not allowed to take PrEP because it won't do nothing for me. The medicine that's in PrEP, I can't do nothing with it because it's not going to do nothing for me. I would need that PrEP pill and something else. So whatever that PrEP pill is, because you have you got Descovy now, and then you have the other one, but it's different. If you HIV positive, you can't take PrEP or PEP because it's already
Yeah.
done.
Okay. And that's another interesting question I come across. You have two positive people in a relationship.
Yes.
And I hear things where people will say, because we're both positive, we can have unprotected sex and not be on medications. Which is, and so question to you there: can they do? Is that safe for two positive
So
people to have unprotected sex and not be on medication?
and not be on medication?
And not be on medication.
No, that's not safe at all. Only because you don't know the strand of someone else's HIV. Because it is different strands of it, and your strand may even be stronger than my strand, even though, even if I wasn't on meds and I was like good to where I was, like still, I wasn't at AIDS level. I was just still positive, but I wasn't on meds. Your
Yeah.
strand could be stronger than mine, and you can affect me, and I can instantly fall into AIDS. Like you can just fuck up my whole immune system with your strand mixing with my strand, or mine's
Yeah.
mixing with yours. So you never want to mix strands together.
Because it can mutate.
Yes, and that's how we got this mutated gonorrhea and chlamydia. These bitches getting strong. They stronger now. You can't just get one shot now. You got to come back for another one. It's everything mutates.
That's what
It's
I'm hearing.
crazy. But yeah, if you positive and you're not on meds, yeah, you both should not have sex together unprotectedly. That's
I'm glad you brought that up because I was almost about to forget that, and I remember someone asked me that about, because again, there are a lot of people when it comes to, as you said, this need for unprotected sex. It is. I understand, I get it, because sex is a powerful emotion and feeling, and in the heat of passion, you without self-control, it can get the better of you. So I understand, but that I've just seen a lot of people just throw a lot of caution to the wind. So I'm just
yeah.
glad I'm glad you answered that question about two positive people. Again, still having the need to be safe and to protect each other, because again, it can mutate when they mix viruses.
And I'm not afraid to say, I've had unprotected sex with various people, and not various like on a huge scale, but if it's someone that I'm dealing with that I trust, and my whole thing is if you really, because people do want to have unprotected sex, even if they know that I'm positive, they already, and it's okay to assume that because you know who I am and I take care of myself that I'm healthy, that's cool. But what we're going to do to assure this we're both gonna go get tested, you know, just to make sure that you good too. I know
Yeah.
I'm good, but I'm gonna let you see that I'm good, and then I'm gonna see that you good as well. So if we do, you feel comfortable enough, and we've been dealing with each other long enough, even if we're not together, then yeah, we can have some condomless sex. We can have some fun. I'm down to clown. I like to have a little freedom once in a blue moon, you know.
Okay. All right, so we've been talking a lot. Everybody, if you have any questions, get them in because we're about to wrap up soon. But Derek, I definitely want to remember to ask about your advocacy work. Like, so what are some of the things I guess you have coming up in your advocacy and your education awareness that you do in the community? You have anything coming up that people should know about?
Right now I'm just going with the flow since everything is, you know, virtual because of COVID. But I know I've been working a lot with different organizations, you know, just outside of the DMV area. So I see me moving out of the DMV, you know, within the next 2 or 3 years, you know, just expanding myself, you know, not with just HIV, but just more on a global scale, you know, helping people out in general with health, you know, because I definitely would love to be a caseworker because
Yeah,
you know, outside, I'm more. I tell people all the time, I'm definitely way more than just HIV. I'm an advocate for the people in general. I
yeah,
love my LGBT community, but you know, I love my Black people more. But I'm gonna help anyone that needs help if I can help you. But I love helping everyone in as a whole. I'm not just health wise.
yeah,
You know, I can do way more than that. You know, I can help with housing. I can help with food stamps. I can help with a lot of things. You know,
yeah.
I can help you with a job, help you get your life back on track. You know, so that's my calling. So I'm gonna take it on a more bigger global scale. So, and I'm gonna see where that takes me.
Very nice. As I told you, as I knew you would, but yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
it's good to know that you know that you are accepting of the calling on your life. So that's a wonderful thing to see. Um, do you think with COVID? So I mean, has COVID been a complication for people with HIV that you know of? Is that something? Is COVID kind of making it more
So
difficult?
in the beginning, they was concerned about anyone that was HIV positive. They wanted all of us to get a COVID test to make sure that we were good, to make sure we were definitely staying actively on our meds. It came to a point where they was like, if you're running out of meds, just all you had to do is just pick up the phone and call. They'll deliver it to you. They was basically like really trying to keep us in the house. Everybody that was positive, they was like, you know,
Yeah,
just don't come outside, don't go around nobody, protect yourselves because we don't know how it's going to affect you.
yeah,
Sadly, I have lost two friends to COVID that were HIV positive, and
mm,
it did instantly destroy their immune system. But I don't know all that was going on with them in general, but I just know with one, it instantly destroyed his immune system. So that was hard losing him because he was very wonderful, lovable, inspiration, and you know it was sad. But I tell people that's why you know when I went to go get the COVID test, I just recorded myself doing it because you know there was so much stigma behind that as well. So,
yeah,
you know, and I just try to, you know, encourage other people to get it, you know, just like I say, just for you can know. You need to know your status. And when I
yeah,
say status, I don't just mean HIV status. And I always tell people that when I say status, the word I want to say is situation. Like you just need to know your status as a whole. You know, you need to know your blood pressure, you know, if you got diabetes, if you got cancer cells, you need to get checked back there in your room. If you got you just need a whole full body exam. You need to know what's going on with your body because it's your body.
yeah,
And I try to tell so many Black people, gay people, like stop waiting to the last minute for something to happen to you or affect you in a way where you just can't move or deal with it no more to then go to the hospital. Like let's break that. Let's break that trauma, that stigma, that and I know going to the doctors is it's not our thing because you know you go to the doctor, you just find out all this shit that you don't want to find out. And you know, I was fine before I came to the doctor. That's what we love saying, and it's a
mhm,
true thing. But if something wrong, that's what the doctor's there for. If something don't feel right up in there, a leave ain't gonna always fix everything. You know, apple cider vinegar ain't gonna fix everything. Ginger ale ain't gonna fix everything. You know, just take your ass to the doctor.
yeah.
That's it.
Thank you for that. I'm glad. I mean, a lot of people need to hear that. So we're gonna wrap it up. I don't see any more questions, but Derrick, before we end, I'm going to give you 1 or 2 minutes before we end. what is it that you, before we end this conversation, what is it that you want people to know? The world to know. Go.
You know, something I will always leave off with everyone. You know, we need to love more. We need to accept more, and just need to let all that inner anger and hatred go. If you have problems or issues, or uncontrollable desires or behaviors from your past, I challenge you all to deal with it. Because it's so much inner stuff that we carry with us up until our adulthood that we haven't dealt with, or that we just put in the back burner. And I just challenge you to deal with it, for you can know why you get mad, or why you're traumatized by something, or why you jump if something happens, or if somebody say anything, or why you have trust issues, or why you just don't want to be around crowded people. Like, I want you to find out everything you need to know about you. And that's what I want anyone to do, before you can live your authentic self.
Everybody, this is Derrick Cox. We have been talking about living with HIV. I am Dr. Thomas A. White, and I want to thank everybody for joining us for another episode of The Conversation Continues. Happy New Year to everybody. And Derrick, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you, brother. I'm sure I will continue to hear from you and see you around doing positive, great things. But I am definitely truly grateful and thankful to have this full circle moment with you. So, I definitely wish you the best, and definitely watching you and supporting you. But to everybody, as Derrick said, be responsible, be safe, take responsibility for you, do what you need to do to be good to you. Be good to you and be healthy and be safe. With that being said, it's been fun. Everybody, good night, and I will talk to you next time.
Okay. Happy 2021.
Take care, everybody.